Hey everybody, I wanted to make a quick update video. I know it's been a while since the last one, outlining the GLTC car, but there's been some big updates and some changes in the plans, so just wanted to kind of update everybody and get everybody excited about the new plans for the build. So here we go. So if you remember from my last video, I just purchased a 94 Civic DX Coupe. It's totally stock, basically unmolested, original example, and I kind of started to talk about my plans for Grid Life GLTC competition, and initially I had some thoughts, and now those plans have kind of changed quite dramatically. So let's kind of take a look at the car and see what's changed and get a good idea of what direction the car is going to go. So here it is. It's pretty torn down. It was originally torn down to a bare shell. Not a single bolt was left. Everything's been taken out. I've been removing seam sealer and any unnecessary brackets. There's still a little bit of that to do, but I started to focus on some other aspects of the build. Picked up this pretty nice airbag free EG dash. It's all gutted. That's gonna get flocked, but that's not what you guys want to see. What you guys want to know is what the actual plans are for the drivetrain. So as everybody knows, K24 has been really successful engine swap, not only in GLTC but in other forms of racing. Both front wheel drive, front and rear wheel drive. There's been Lotuses, all sorts of stuff that have done really well with the K series platform. But I kind of thought maybe that was just the easy button, and since I'm a masochist, I thought let's do something a little different. That all sort of started to happen right around the time that we picked up this beautiful 10th gen SI. So these come with an L15 B7 1.5 liter turbo, really nice powertrain, and it started to get me thinking, and there's been a lot of chatter on the internet about how that swap would do in one of the Golden Era chassis, and well, that's what we're doing. So I reached out to several companies about whether they'd want to work with me on this project, and it's been a resounding yes. So I've gotten a lot of help from Kingpin Machines on the suspension side. Hone Developments has also come on board. A company called ODB Welding Werks, which does shock tower extensions and firewall shaving, plates, stuff like that. So they have, those have actually already been welded in. This probably looks a bit different if you saw my last video. There was a little D15B7 in here before, so we're going from D15B7 to L15B7. So I welded in shock tower extensions. I've started to close up some of the firewall. There's still some more to do, but I kind of waited until I knew how much was going to need to be closed up and how much I would need to use for cable routing and stuff like that for the L15 swap. As things kind of unfolded, it just so happened that Hasport was releasing mounts at the time that I decided that I was going to do the L15 swap, and we got the first set. So thank you to Brian and Laura and everybody at Hasport for coming on board and supporting me. It's been a dream of mine to have Hasport as a partner on a build since I was a teenager, and this has sort of presented a unique opportunity in that nobody's really done the L15B7 swap in an EG. There's one running car in Arizona that is an EK, but that car doesn't see the track time that this build will. I've actually reached out to them. They've been incredibly helpful as far as kind of telling me what they figured out. I've reached out to people like Sally McNulty on the TCA side of things to see if they've found any weak spots in the L15B7. And in that chassis, they actually don't even run an oil cooler. Granted, there's some things like a wide front grille and another opening at the top section that probably helps with cooling. So those will be things that I have to address when I'm doing the swap in a chassis that it wasn't designed to be in. But yeah, let me show you the first set of EG production mounts. So here they are. You can see, I mean, standard amazing Hasport quality. You know, this is the side mount. It's very similar to the K series, so you drill through and you bolt it, but it's got a higher mounting point just based on where the engine mounts up. And then these are also the flip, their patented flip design. So just like the K24 in, say, Eric Cattill's car, you'll be able to flip them over, and that will adjust the height for oil pan clearance. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to need to be set, and I won't know until I get my donor engine. I think I'm going to end up doing the Accord version. Brian said that it's got a little bit better turbo, and then it's got VTEC on the exhaust cam, which the Civic Si does not. So there's a bit more tunability there with the Accord motor. It makes a little bit less horsepower, but with the power to weight limitations in GLTC, that shouldn't be an issue. I was probably going to have to detune anyway to make the numbers that I need to make, but I'm going to use probably a Civic Si Trans, as it comes with a helical differential from the factory. Where none of the other chassis that the L15 comes in come with an LSD option at all. I'm looking into an aftermarket one, but there's not a lot available, so kind of trying to figure that out. And as you probably noticed too, there's a big Acuity logo on my shirt. They also came on board. So Acuity reached out to me, and when they saw that I posted about the L15B7 mounts, and Russ was incredibly generous and offered to come on board and really support the program, and you know, really welcome me onto the team. So they started out by sending me this beautiful fully adjustable 10th gen SI shifter. Oops, sorry, the door on my shed decided to close. But yeah, so you can see there's all the adjustments. I mean, absolutely beautiful quality out of all the Acuity things. I mean, shift knob. I mean, the lever action is so smooth. It's really cool. They tell you all the torque specs on everything. What size hardware you need, so that's really helpful at the track. It'll help me plan ahead of time to know what tools that I need to bring and what I don't need to bring. So this is the centerpiece of what they have offered. You can also see that there was an oil cap there. That was part of it. They're helping me with the fuel system, so it started out with this really beautiful AN center feed. This is actually for a K series, but because of the quick release connector on there, that will this will mate to the flex fuel sensor that I have planned. So they're offering me all of the support on the fuel system as well, trying to help figure all that out. And I'll know more again once I get the donor L15 in. But yeah, and then more parts that have come in recently. There's a lot of Hone Developments goodies. Some of them are actually already on the car. I was doing some test fitting and mock-up. And then these beautiful Kingpin lower control arms for the front, and I'm going to be running the entire Kingpin catalog. Then here's the subframe. This is that rear mount for the EG L15 swap. I believe it's the same as the K24 mount, and they just did a different bracket to made up to that. Got a nice JDM Integra Type R front sway bar that's going to go on. And then these are some knuckles that need to get cleaned up. I'm going to be pressing in the honed ball joint, the geometry correcting ball joints there. And then that will almost finish up the suspension. The last piece of suspension is I'm going to be running Annex coilovers. There are some friends of mine from California that started a really small coilover company specializing in golden area vehicles. They started doing some development on BRZs, and that's how I met them through my previous car. And they were kind enough to come on board and help out on the project as well. So I'll be running their suspension, and they've got several drivers that are running them now. I know Nick Steniford, who also races in GLTC, is sponsored by them. So yeah, Team Annex will be helping us out on the suspension side, which will actually be really interesting with all the hone developments, geometry correction, seeing how they figure out all the valving and all that. They do custom valved and custom spring rates, all that. So I'll be working with Grant and them over at Annex to get all that dialed in. So here's some more of the honed goodies. So they're rear upper camber arms with the new shims that Eric actually helped them develop. So these will help with ease of adjustment. So I believe it's half a degree of camber when you add and remove these shims. So it's just quickly 2 bolts, change your shim, and you can get a half a degree without having to go through and doing all the alignments, all that at the track, should you just need a little bit of extra camber really quick. Got PCI spherical rear trailing arm bushings there. Cleaned up some Integra hubs, so I'm actually going to be running I haven't decided exactly what brake package yet. I'm thinking I'm going to do the ASR AP Racing setup. It's really big and thick rotors, so that should help, since the plans for the car are to not need to run brake ducts. Really short races, so I'm trying to keep as much thermal mass and thermal capacity in the brake system as I can. Then you can see here I welded in the honed gussets to both the lower control arm the lower control arm mounting point and the rear trailing arm. And then those also just came in. That's the new Hone Developments tooth style toe adjustment arms. So those are also really nice in that each tooth is a measured increment, so you can adjust, I believe it's 4 millimeters with each tooth, and then that can be dialed in with the eccentric bolt that you saw there. That will dial in more fine adjustment. So yeah, that's sort of the plans for the car so far. As far as my plans for aero and stuff like that, I'm actually gonna be following James Houghton's advice and doing the low drag setup. I think that with the longer wheelbase on the EG Coupe slash Integra, that should help like stabilize the rear end a little bit. I'm gonna run a gurney flap very likely, but then the front I'm gonna run sort of gears and gasoline style drag front end, do professional awesome fender vents, all that. So yeah, that's kind of the plans with the car. And like I said, I just wanted to do a quick little update for everybody. I know if you've been following my Instagram or if you're in the GLTC chat, you know everything that's happened. I can't keep any secrets, and I'm super excited all the time. So yeah, that's everything that's going on with the car, and thanks for tuning in. You know, if you'd like, subscribe. If you want to drop some comments, ask some questions, give some advice, I read everything. And yeah, So just want to say thank you to everybody once again for tuning in, and I'll see you guys soon. Later.